In our fictional world of Coloraderia, the planet very closely replicates Earth in our own solar system. The planet is mostly very mountainous. There are extensive block mountains where the intuitive people have settled, and mostly leveled out folded mountains where the non-intuitive people have settled. The huge block of mountains include elevated mountains with canyons or rift valleys in between. Additionally, the weather ranges from moderate to extremely cold temperatures. There are 4 seasons similar to Earth's seasons: fall, winter, spring, and summer. Overall, the environment of this harmonious and mystical world has scenic highland views that are vibrant and mesmerizing. They are enchanting and portray a habitat that the people have a great connection with. The dimensions of the land masses, accompanied by some vegetation and water bodies, are very adventurous and intriguing and paint a picture of the landscape's overall beauty. In this realm is where our main tribes, the intuitive and non-intuitive people, live in a delicate coexistence. The central economic system employed in the world is agriculture, mainly through terracing. The fertile landscapes cultivated with skilled hands allow for sustainable and surplus food crop production and makes it easier to manage moderately large populations. The political system utilized in the realm of Coloraderia is that of a chieftain hierarchical political organization, where political power is monopolized under senior members of society. In the society, there is a concept of ranked that is based on kinship patterns. The central authority figure, which is the chief leader, primarily oversees governance, decision-making processes, trading rules, and resource management. Both the intuitives and non-intuitives have their own chieftains and respective chiefs while living in the same city. Additionally, the political structure is highly linked with the economic significance of crops, particularly ether leaf. As for the religions of the area, the non-intuitives adhere to the practices of Riki Terra, which is omonistic, and is more entwined with their culture as opposed to a chosen practice. Rikiman centers around the earth as the giver of all life, Teriona. The non-intuitives see themselves as guests of this world, and the concept at the core of the religious practice is cohabitation. The intuitives also have one religion that dominates the population, but there are sects that also take form. Magiska is the dominating religion, which is founded on the belief that there is a god, Kriovor, that created people and gave the intuitives their power to help aid them in their survival on land. This Kriovor was not, however, the creator of the world they inhabit, but a creator and protector of man, and the terraformer was another creator in charge of the land. As for the races and ethnicities, Coloraderia can be termed as a melting pot of cultures due to how diverse it is. The population consists of different ethnicities, with the pan-ethnic groups being Inuktitut and Nueskitu. And the regional language is referred to as Inuktitut and Nueskitu. These dialects are spoken throughout much of Inuit land and the Isles of Nong. Though Inuktitut is non-unitary, it has several regional dialects. A wider variety of gender identities are acknowledged and embraced, including non-binary, genderqueer, and more. Furthermore, individuals may discover a unique aspect known as animalescence, which represents a personalized gender connection linked to their magical sign. The animalescence is a distinct manifestation of their identity, aligning them with a particular aspect of magical energy and granting them deeper insight into their powers. In the society of non-magic users, 3 genders are recognized: male, female, and non-binary. Additionally, a unique tradition exists where the leader of each clan is assigned a blossom. The blossom symbolizes the clan's leadership role and their connection to nature and their clan's values. It is a way to honor their position and responsibilities within the community. The individual is chosen randomly by a birthmark that comes up within the clans that symbolize the blossom. And for centuries, after the tribes of their ancestors settled the lands, there were wars between the tribes. But after the last great war of Ioannis the Conqueror, the tribes and people of the realm have had a gradual stability. This is, of course, all until the Great Change happened.
The Great Change, the alignment of bodies. From trade among the non-intuitive and intuitive people, many non-intuitive people have gained magic relics or objects. These objects were meant to have no other purpose aside from possession of goods, but some of the non-intuitive people realized they were able to gain access through the portal when carrying these magical objects on them. More and more of the non-intuitives started to discover this so-called hack, which began to create more of a demand for magical items. When the intuitives discovered what the non-intuitives were doing with these magical goods, 2 main ideas of thought were formed, which created tensions amongst the intuitives. Trade and most interaction amongst the 2 groups was temporarily halted when intuitive leaders tried to decide how to move forward. Impatience and tensions were growing on both sides as the common people waited to find out what actions were to be put in place. During this lull, however, an odd weather anomaly started to take shape. A storm of great magnitude emerged from Magus Lake. Rainfall and lightning fell over the land of the non-intuitives for several days. When the rain subsided, what was left was a warm fog covering the land for another several days. After a week and a half, the strange weather ceased, but many non-intuitives began to notice differences in their abilities and their interactions with the world around them. After many weeks, magical abilities appeared in these non-intuitives. Many of them were afraid or alarmed and went to seek help from shamans and other tribal leaders. The head of the chiefdom wanted to keep this under wraps until they could figure out what it meant, but several of the younger non-intuitives were careless and boisterous with their newfound abilities, gaining attention from intuitives that were passing by. Word spread quickly to Intuit land, and the Intuit chiefdom called for a meeting with the non-intuitive chiefdom. The non-intuitive shamans and leaders gathered to pray for answers and attempt ceremonies and spiritual journeys with the magic-possessing non-intuitives, to reverse the magic abilities but to no avail. With the leaders of the non-intuitives occupied, several of the young and excited Omnissus Amo people decided to test their new abilities and travel through the portal to explore other lands and practice magic. A small group made their way to the Intuit land and began running around and playing with the elements through their magic. They did not understand how to control their abilities and accidentally caused acres of land to collapse into a sinkhole just outside of a large city. They retreated quickly, but witnesses noticed kids with non-intuitive clothing running away. The leaders of the Intuitives saw this as an attack on their people and decided they needed to control the situation. The following day, the leaders of Intuit land made their way to the leaders of the Isle of Non and demanded a meeting to fix matters at hand. All that ensued was conflict because the non-Intuits did not want to send their people to the Intuit land away for however long it may take to teach them to control their abilities as the Intuitives proposed. The Intuitives did not want to send their people to the Isle of Non to provide them with more resources and send their best teachers away either, as the non-intuitives proposed. The intuitives feared that they would try to overthrow the intuitives. Both sides decided to deal with matters on their own. The new influx of magical abilities that grants non-intuitive people with magic transcends the traditional magic abilities of intuitives. As a result, the intuitives inherit abilities that once bestowed them with a higher social status, and exclusive access to positions of power no longer serve as a unique marker in the system of privilege. Additionally, superstitious magical knowledge that used to be passed down from generation to generation by intuitives has now become more accessible to the broader population. This causes the intuitives to seek to retain their influence, while the non-intuitives now have gained a new political empowerment and demand for equal representation in decision-making processes regarding the political and economic systems. Additionally, more internal strife breaks out between the intuitives themselves, in which some desire to embrace the inclusivity of the non-intuitives with their newfound abilities and advocate for unity, while others oppose the idea because they feel like they have been robbed of their original identity and traditional hierarchy. On the other hand, some members of the non-intuitive group now have to deal with being seen as an outcast of their own communities due to their new abilities. Moreover, the sudden accessibility of magical abilities to the non-intuitives also disrupts the power dynamics between the two chiefdoms and creates a political tension as well as ideological conflicts. The chiefs of both chiefdoms must navigate between appeasing both groups and maintaining the stability of their power. They are forced to reconsider the diplomatic relationships and alliances with each other and seek to find common ground in order to prevent rebellion from people of both groups. Both groups try to enforce strict laws to gain control. Things only worsened for each side. Internal struggles and social uprisings grew. After half a year of chaos and loss of control over the people of each side, the intuitives and non-intuitive leaders decided to call another meeting. They finally agreed to the terms initially proposed by one another and signed a treaty for the equal treatment and ruling of all people, and trade for interaction between all people to continue. People of the non-intuitives were welcome to learn how to control their magic at the magic schools in the Intuit land. In terms of the economic system, the non-intuitives fell into a sudden economic hardship regarding the market economy that was solely based on their agricultural products as they try to readjust to the new possession of magical abilities. Once they started getting familiar with it, the non-intuitives' reliance on the marketing of the Aether Leaf plants decreased as they managed to discover how to use their magical abilities for different purposes like elemental manipulation and healing processes. Thus, the intuitives started facing competition from the non-intuitives who could perform similar tasks and produce similar goods. This forced the intuitives to readjust for horticultural work to some degree as the products from cultivation action by the non-intuitives started decreasing. Hence, the intuitives started exploring alternate economic ventures like agriculture of other crops and the production of goods like enchanted artifacts. This caused a great shift in market trade dynamics between the two groups. With these changing dynamics, Connecting back to the political system, the chiefdoms of both groups are now mandated to renegotiate new market economy policies that will bring the two groups together and benefit both mutually, as they also continue working hard to subside the political tension and fulfill people's demands. The new insight into collaboration and mutual exploration of dynamics drastically change and impact the interconnected economic and political systems, which also influence people's day-to-day cultural activities. In the years to follow, people of both cultures began to settle in areas closer to opposite lands. Large towns started to emerge at the edge of Magus Lake, where many people of both sides migrated to interact, support each other, and learn ways of another's culture. These new settlements led to a rise in birth rates of interracial children, a new generation, some born with magical abilities and some without, but both with diverse cultural backgrounds and embrace for the diversity of their people.
We have the characters of our fictional world, and to begin with is Marcel. Marcel is a member of the non-intuitive community located within the woodlands below the enclave and primarily speaks the language Nauiskatut. Marcel is a farmer and a hunter and also knows a dialect of Inuktitut because of various business interactions that occurred throughout the world. Marcel identifies as a blossom, which is an embracing gender identity that reflects nature's blossoming aspects. So the great change that occurred in the world impacts Marcel by putting them in a conflicting state and situation of keeping one's own traditions, which is the non-intuitive people's traditions, alive and conserved, while also having to respect another non-intuitive's friend's desires of exploring magical abilities, because this friend specifically gained magical ability as a result of the weather phenomena. This leads up to the second character, which is Iris. Iris is a 13-year-old female who lives in a small village located in Isle of Nun. She also speaks non-Iskatut, and most people in her village practice agricultural actions of different staple crops. In terms of religion, she sometimes struggles to learn more about spirituality and medicine practice in her religion of Rikitera. She really loves going to the Magus Lake because she is really fascinated about the magical abilities that the non-intuitive people are engaged with. So this great change that occurred in the world is not only a change that drastically changed the world, but also it is a breathtaking opportunity for Iris because she has now gained magical abilities that she can explore, and she's very enthusiastic about exploring without actually understanding the risks, the potential risks, or what it actually means to have these magical abilities. Third, we have our Luke. Our Luke is a 28-year-old male who is a member of Intuitives. He speaks Inuktitut and is a teacher who is extremely passionate about his profession of spreading knowledge about the world. And he comes from a family of shamans and studied the religion Magiska, but he himself is not a shaman because he has a prioritized dream of furthering his knowledge and actually taking a group of students to the Magus Lake to teach more about the Intuitives' magical abilities and ways of lives. So as this great change struck, our Luke became really concerned with the growing dispute between the economic and political systems. And as a person viewed to be one of the most educated and wise people in the Intuit land, he perceives that he might eventually be expected to teach non-intuitive people to how to manage their magical abilities and to teach them about the historical information about the intuitive people's inherent abilities so that they can actually understand better and to understand the capability of what it means to have these magical abilities. So he is faced with this decision of putting off his own dream of visiting Magus Lake and actually helping out with the problem that is currently going on. And at last we have Wakir. Wakir is an adolescent individual who's a member of the Intuitive group and speaks Inuktitut. Wakir is a non-binary individual who identifies with animal essence in relation to the magical sign and comes from a lineage of enchanted clan. And Wakir was actually born in the region of non-intuitives or Enclave Plateau, but grew up and currently lives in the western part of the highlands near Magus Lake. So despite the fact that Wakir is unintuitive, they are seen as odd and strange just because they are born in the land of non-intuitives. So Wakir had always wanted to participate in contemporary magic schools to teach about not only the history of intuitives but also non-intuitives, because they've personally experienced the feeling of being seen as an outcast, and they want to advocate for inclusivity and equality. So as a result of this great change, Wakir is considered to be part of those intuitive people who actually want to support the non-intuitives that just gained their powers, because Wakir believes that this is a groundbreaking chance to bring the two groups together rather than just keep being divided in the sense of cultural purity and the structured violence.
Mercial, Sundos the 12th. Today the forest feels different. The leaves rustle with an unsettling energy. There's a change in the air, and I can't help but feel scared and confused. Political and social changes are sweeping across Coloradoria, and it seems that they've even made their way to our quiet woodland community. The trees whisper amongst one another of a great power sweeping over the land. I'm starting to think that must have been the burst I felt a few moons back. This could also explain how my mentor, Arluk, suddenly has extraordinary abilities, and why Iris has been ignoring my pleas to eat at our favorite tree during mid-sun meals. I find myself torn between my deep desire to preserve our community's traditions and my friend Iris's yearning to explore the mystical powers of the Magus Lake. In our heated debate, she sees Arluk as a symbol of progress, while I view him with suspicion, fearing the consequences of unchecked powers. It's a clash of ideals that weigh heavily on my heart as I cherish our friendship, but it just feels like our paths are diverging. I must find a way to reconcile these conflicting desires and seek common ground between tradition and progress. Mortis, the 26th. The day has come when my fears have materialized into a heart-wrenching reality. A confrontation looms on the horizon as whispers spread through the village about the magical abilities of Arluk and the others. Some, like myself, view them as a threat, while others, like Iris, see them as a beacon of hope and progress. Iris's admiration for Arluk has deepened, and she is seemingly resolute in her support for the Inuits, as Popo calls them. What does that make us? I wonder. She believes that learning from him and the Inuits will enrich our lives and bring about a new era of understanding between our communities, while I, on the other hand, am torn. How can I stand against her and Arluk while respecting their desires for growth and unity? I mean, would I have to kill them? What the hell am I saying? I couldn't kill them. Could I? Wakir, Tharsnia 25. By Karavir, the political struggles within the chieftain are becoming more apparent. As one of the cultivators, I often overhear discussions about resource distribution and the likes between different regions. Do the higher-ups not understand that the walls have ears too? A topic of discussion is Arluk, with his quote-unquote unexplained magical powers. While I admire his curiosity, I can't help but worry for his safety. I hope he stays focused on his pursuit and remembers the responsibility he holds within the community. I find solace in practicing my newfound powers while worshipping Karavir, the creator of all life. Oh, Iris, how I admire her courage and determination to express her desire to travel to Magnus Lake. It takes immense strength to pursue one's dreams despite the expectation from her family and community. I stand by her decision and offer my support, just as she has always supported me. Iris, Mortis, 2. I finally mustered the courage to talk to Arluk about my desire to explore the Magus Lake. His reaction surprised me. He was understanding and supportive, encouraging me to follow my heart and learn from the adventure. I felt a sense of relief and excitement at the same time. Speaking of Arluk, He's been acting different lately. His magical powers are growing, and he spends more time away from the village, diving deeper into his understanding of them. Merciel sees this as a potentially life-threatening situation, but I can't help but feel a sense of admiration for Arlec's determination and curiosity. He's like a mentor and a friend, and I hope he finds the answers he seeks. I must be strong and true to myself, and I hope that both Merciel and Arlec can understand my choices, just as I try to understand theirs. Arlec, Saturn the 23rd. As I continue to explore the mysterious magical forces behind Magus Lake, I can't help but feel overcome with excitement and joy to pursue the ancient magical ways of our ancestors that probably never fully understood the depths of what forces at their fingertips. Although this is where the spirituality factor comes from for our tribe, we are humbled by the magical ways, yet I want to take this to a new level of understanding for the new magical future members of our tribe. To learn not just the natural forces of our world, but also the mystical. I'd like to plan an expedition to the Magus Lake, but it's fraught with danger, and I do not truly understand the magical forces that are entwined in the island. Perhaps I could visit the Sister Isles for young, eager students, but I still don't know if the trip is worth dangers. Thursday, the 17th. Oh, my endeavor to learn all the mysteries of the world and then teach those mysteries in my life's work. My ancestors have aimed to make a difference for our people, and I believe, in my own way, for me, this is it. You see, I'm not the village healer, or the shaman of our faith, nor am I a village leader. But I am the future of our tribe's education, and that in itself is my craft, a contribution of our people. There shouldn't be a doubt in my mind anymore. I'm going to take an exhibition to Magus Lake with a group of eager students from the Sister Isles who are ready to learn the mysticisms of the old ways and to better help our people today.